And that wraps up the Champions League group stage. The first time we've ever seen it done like that. And I quite like this final day. I think there could have been a bit more drama if there was going to be results that could have changed a bit more. There was a little bit of that, but not quite as much as maybe we expected, or maybe there could have been, especially for the English teams, I think. The likes of Arsenal were already qualified, and I don't know, there was a lot of expected results that happened, but we'll go through them. So, I mean, Arsenal just doing their thing. It ended up 3-2, actually. I didn't even realise that. I was watching one of the other games. That game ended up 3-2, but they pretty much rotated their whole team. They didn't need to play any of their first team. They were already qualified for that top 8. They still went and got a result at home. I mean, their second team was just unbelievable, even compared to other teams' first teams. I mean, if we're looking at the lineup here, you've got Kepa, who, whilst isn't great, is a serviceable goalkeeper. Ben White, Mosquera, Calafiori, who obviously is part of their first team usually, but regardless, Lewis Skelly, Norgard, Eze, Havertz, and Marino would have been in this if he wasn't suspended, right? Madueke, Martinelli, Gyokeres. That's a genuinely very good team. And that's Arsenal's second team. That's like what France are going to look like at the World Cup. It's outrageous. Anyway, they got a result. Gyokeres got a goal, which is actually pretty good for him. Havertz playing really well by all accounts. I didn't watch the game, like I say, but I think he played really well from what I saw. Barcelona getting a result as well. They actually played a first team pretty much. They played Yamal, Firmin, Rafinha, Lewandowski. All of the players you'd expect to play for them in a first team did play. Real Madrid had a bit of a nightmare. Now, I didn't watch this game, but I wish I did, because they actually ended up finishing ninth. Sporting went into the top 8 ahead of them. Real Madrid have kind of had a bit of a nightmare here. They lost 4-2 to Benfica, which is crazy because they were 1-0 up in this game. And Mbappe put them 1-0 up. And then they just absolutely capitulated. 2 red cards at the end of the game as well. Asensio and Rodrigo. Rodrigo got 2 yellow cards within the space of 2 minutes. Don't quite know what happened there. Can't wait to watch the highlights of that. Because, I mean, Real Madrid doing anything relatively disappointing is going to be a good watch. Because Real Madrid fans are just a bit unbearable in that sense. And they've got every right to be, really, with how good they've been over the last however many years. But yeah, proper interesting result there. Spurs, this is what we love to see from Spurs. There's nothing better than a Champions League win for Spurs to keep Thomas Frank in a job. Every Premier League fan, every Premier League manager is buzzing at this result. Spurs finished 4th in the Champions League group stage, and they are stinking up the Premier League. But these performances in the Champions League are keeping Thomas Frank in a job once again. And by all accounts, it looked like a good performance again away at Frankfurt. They had plenty of shots. Everything it looked like went well. So this is exactly what we want to see. And it's exactly what, if I was a Spurs fan, I would not want to see. Because we know that these good performances in the Champions League, the same as Dortmund the other week, cannot be replicated in the Premier League. Frank doesn't know how to replicate these Champions League performances in the Premier League. But these results are keeping him in a job. It is wonderful to see. Got Liverpool with an expected win against Karabag, 6-0. I mean, that does look like an unbelievable performance. You'd expect the win, of course. But 38 shots. 38 shots Liverpool had in this game. That is ridiculous. 10 big chances. 5.6 expected goals. That is like a next level mauling of that team. A next level mauling. I mean, it's impressive from Liverpool regardless, but I think the result was expected. But that is crazy. 38 shots. They didn't even have like unbelievable possession. 56% possession. Yet they had 38 shots, 12 shots on target, 10 big chances, 5.6 XG. That is quite outrageous. And then Napoli-Chelsea. So this is the game that I did watch. And in the first half, or the first half an hour at least, Napoli weren't at it. Chelsea were kind of all over them, dictating the game. It was Enzo's penalty, Enzo's goal, that changed the game around. As soon as Chelsea scored, Napoli kind of kicked into gear and Chelsea almost sat back a little bit. I don't think they did sit back, but they kind of maybe got a bit complacent because they were battering them, don't get me wrong. But then Napoli turned it on a bit. for the rest of the second half, or for the rest of the first half, sorry, and for a lot of the second half, the first kind of 20 minutes of the second half. It wasn't until Rosenior made changes, it was actually Trevor Chalobah coming on. Now, I'm not Trevor Chalobah's biggest fan, but in terms of centre-backs for Chelsea, he is the best they've got, especially given that Fofana can't play a lot of games in a row. Hojllund actually was given some really, really good hold-up play. I think that's one of the things that he's improved most, actually, is his hold-up play. He looked really good this evening against Chelsea in that regard. I think if Napoli just had a few more fit players, a few more options on the bench, they could have potentially got a result in this game. But Joao Pedro essentially won the game on his own for them with two just unbelievable pieces of excellence. Almost solo goals. The first one pretty much was a solo goal. The second one, not so much, but it was predominantly him doing the dog work there. And it was unbelievable from him. But I do think that if Napoli just had a few more fit players, they had so many players out, that if they had one or two good bench options, they might have been able to get something from this game. But again, it shows the Premier League dominance in the Champions League once again. Man City, Galatasaray, they just went and got the result they needed to. I do think Doku went off injured. Like I said, I didn't watch this game, but it looked like Doku went off injured, which is really not ideal for them. That is poor for them, because Doku has been really, really good this season, and he looks dangerous. Whatever he does, whenever he gets the ball, he can be dangerous. But they just got a professional win. And then PSG, Newcastle. I would have loved to have seen Newcastle get a winner here. But their lineup was weird to me. Or maybe not so weird, because they looked like they played a 5 at the back. Now, I didn't watch the game, so I'm not 100% sure on this. But it looked like Byrne, Botman, Chow as 3 centre-backs. Then Lewis Hall as a wing-back. And Miley as a wing-back. Now, it may have been a back 4 with Miley in the midfield. Tonali, Jacob Ramsey, Willock and Alanga all getting starts. I thought that we'd see Barnes, because he's been really good recently. I thought that we'd see Gordon. He hasn't been good recently, but we know he can be. I also thought we'd see Bruno Guimaraes, who was on the bench but didn't come on. He was clearly fit enough to play, or he wouldn't have even been on the bench. But nevertheless, I mean, it was a good result. It didn't get them top 8, but it was a good result. And then Bayern Munich just about getting over the line. Not that they needed to, they were already qualified, but they did get over the line. But the one thing for me that we've seen from tonight, and the Champions League in general, is the Premier League supremacy. The Premier League has never been more clear of the other European leagues than it is right now. 5 of the top 8 teams in the Champions League are English. The gulf in standard is there for everyone to see. Arsenal have won all 8 of their games. Then there's Liverpool, who aren't even really performing in the Premier League like we think they should be. They're 3rd. Spurs, who respectfully are stinking up the Premier League, are 4th in the Champions League. Then you've got Chelsea, and then you've got Man City, who are somewhat disappointing as well. I mean, Arsenal went to Inter Milan last week, who, by the way, are top of the league and have scored the most goals in Italy. Arsenal made light work of that. Chelsea, again, tonight, went over to Naples, and again, made light work of that game. Yes, Napoli have some injuries, have quite a lot of injuries, so maybe that one is potentially expected. But even Newcastle going over to Paris and getting a result there. There has never been more of a gulf in class between the Premier League and the rest of the European leagues. But that is all for this one. If you liked the video, make sure you do hit like, make sure you subscribe, it helps me a lot, and I will see you in the next one.